Local state senators are trying to build an agenda from the ground up by hearing from their constituents. To tell us about the series of Commonwealth Conversations are two senators representing parts of Boston, Will Brownsberger and Dorcena Forry. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start with Will Brownsberger. This is a statewide process, so what got it all going?
Well, I think it comes out of the conversations that the Senate's been having about how to make sure that we're hearing from everybody and that we're forming an agenda that's responsive to people's concerns.
Dorcena Forry, talk about how this fits into the new situation. You've got a new Senate president, a new governor, so I guess a lot of blank slate here too.
I mean, yeah, I have to say that it's been great working with my colleagues in the Senate, but Senate President Rosenberg really wanted to have an inclusive process, really to listen, right? And so that's how we started off with these tours. We're going all over the state to listen to constituents of different regions and to find out what are some of the things that people are dealing with. Obviously, we know it as individuals in terms of our own districts, but we're working collaboratively, going out to different parts of the state that I may not represent or will. Senator Brownsberger may not represent, but we're also there listening as well.
Attorney Will Brownsberger, talk about the events in this series that will be happening right here in Boston.
So it's going to be an interesting day. We're going to start in Brighton High School.
And which day is this coming up?
Wednesday, March 4th.
Right.
Coming right up. We're going to start at 9 a.m. at Brighton High School in the auditorium. We're going to hear from the principal there and others on his staff about education issues. And I think we're going to hear from a number of transportation advocates about transportation concerns, and then we'll have an open forum there. From there, we're going to swing through that huge new development thing at I-90, the interchange project, make sure senators are aware of that. And then we're going to head over to Somerville and visit a green technology company there and look at what's going on in Union Square with the new development and the transit stuff. Then we're going to go over to Everett High School, and we'll see what's the work they're doing there, and we'll head out to Massport. And then I'm going to turn it over to Linda, because then what happens next, Linda?
Then we're heading to Boston. No, but the Massport obviously will be here in East Boston as well. But we're going to be heading to RCC, Roxbury Community College, where we're going to have the big town hall forum. We invite all the community to join us. It's going to be from 6:30 to 8:30, and so we hope people are able to make it. But before getting there, we're actually going to be making stops along the way throughout Dorchester. One of the stops going to be brief, but it's going to be with the New England Carpenters, the New England Regional Carpenters Organization, just to look at the apprenticeship program that they have right there on Dorchester Avenue. From there, we're going to be on a bus, which is great, right? It's going to be allow us to move more freely and quickly and have everyone in one place. So I'll be acting as a conductor as we make it down up Columbia Road, looking at the Strand, looking at the developments that's taking place there, down Dudley Street, past the Kroc Center, talk about that, talk about DSNI and the Dudley Street Triangle, and then head over for a quick bite to eat, and then after RCC.
Senator, you just mentioned all these areas and these projects, and so some of our viewers, they might not readily think of them as state things, but in many ways they are.
They are. I would say that, whether it's housing, whether it's education, whether it's funding for healthcare, I mean, all these things have a component of the state, right? Even though it may be the city processes are running through the city of Boston, but a lot of components have state funding. But really our whole goal of this tour is to listen, right? Listen to the concerns of our constituents, of people around the Commonwealth. And one of the things we've heard about was helping small businesses, right? How do we create more access and opportunity? How do we make sure they have access to capital so they could be able to develop into stronger businesses and hiring more people?
Well, Brownsberger, you mentioned that interchange that's being restructured on the Turnpike in Alston, and I guess that's an example of how when people weigh in, it can make a difference.
Well, yes, it is. I mean, people have, I think the MassDOT, the transportation folks have really been listening to the folks that have come and participated in that process. It's been a very participatory process, and the project has changed a lot as a result of the input there. More bike and pet friendly, more of an effort to accommodate kind of a park along the river there. All at the same time, I think, accomplishing the major transportation goals. Probably the biggest thing, of course, is bringing in that west station and making sure that that's part of the project to create that new station there, so that they can connect downtown directly. I just worth saying, I think, that one of the themes that's central all across the state is transportation, whether it's roads, regional transit, or of course the MBTA, which I'm sure is going to be front and center in our conversations, Massport.
Yeah.
That is one of the major roles that the state plays in local in everybody's life, and so getting that right and is clearly at the top of our agenda.
Well, you both represent districts that have had problems with the Dorcena Forry, the trolley between Mattapan and Ashmont, the red line. I mean, it doesn't get much worse.
I mean, it was worse because these are historic snow levels, right? We've never had this amount of snow before, and so that plays a big part in it. And I think that, what's great to find out as we go on these tours is that transportation impacts everyone, right? So as we look at how do we fund the MBTA, how do we make sure that we have a quality system, that if a snowstorm happens like this again, maybe next year, we hope not, but it's probably coming, that it doesn't happen like that, right? That the trolley will continue to run, that the T will run, that commuter rail will be up and operating. And so those are the things we have to look at once this tour is over. So it's not just going to be a tour and it's done. And I think it's important to say that because Senator Rosenberg, obviously we're going to come out with a paper, I would say, a document to say.
We're working on it's all part of a collaborative agenda setting process. So that's we'll have a direction. It's not even a one session agenda, but it's a multi-session agenda. Yeah. And I think he's doing a great job in terms of making sure we're listening to all the angles and really getting to what the heart of things, most important things are.
Will Brownsberger, you mentioned this new transportation feature. The mantra we're already hearing is that the MBTA expands too much. We've got a $1.5 billion budget deficit down the road. So I guess if people really want something, they're going to have to really dig in and push hard.
A couple of things there. First of all, I'm on that page 100%. We have to be totally real about what we can and can't do. And I think we have been saying to people we can do more than we can do. We're talking about expansion. We have routes that are underutilized, and yet we're not maintaining the core systems. We have to focus, decide what is core, and maintain that. But Secretary Pollack made a good point the other night, or actually yesterday afternoon when she was testifying in the State House. Maintaining the core of the system doesn't necessarily mean maintaining what was there in 1970. In other words, maybe there's some things that we might think of as core that we ought to let go and replace them with things that are more valuable. So we definitely have to scale back. We definitely have to recognize that our goals have outstripped our funding capacity at this time. That we've outstripped the public's willingness to fund what we need to do. But that doesn't necessarily mean we go with the status quo. Maybe we cut some things away, we part back, and we do the most important things. And I think that DMU service, that new service, that rail service,
diesel multiple unit
service going out, along the existing railroad tracks, not only towards Brighton but down towards Reedville and so forth. Yeah, that is an extremely high value investment because you've got existing rail tracks. But with you can create a completely new kind of service, basically a subway service on those tracks with a relatively modest investment. So that's something that needs to stay on the radar screen, even as we say, let's cut back, let's focus on the core.
And I'm happy Senator Brownsberger said that because that's critical, right? So the Fairmont line runs throughout my district, and we're talking about that for DMUs. But there is the Mattapan station that's supposed to be built. It was part of mitigation from the Big Dig, and so it has to get done. And we know that, we started in the fall to say it's going to happen. We broke ground. So I hope that project moves forward. Obviously, it's a requirement now by the federal government that we do it. The resources are here, but it's also, how do we make that become rapid? Once it's up and running and there's stations all around the Reedville line or the Fairmont line, the Purple line, and it's making sure it continues.
Briefly, Will Brownsberger, if people want to check those times and places again, what's the best website?
malegislature.gov/cc.
All right, thank you both very much, Senators Will Brownsberger and Linda Dorcena Forry. We'll have more news in just a moment.